DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. By integrating the comprehensive animal health product portfolio of Merck Animal Health with the innovative technologies of All-Flex Livestock Intelligence, we are shaping the future of animal health, resulting in more effective solutions and healthier animals.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. Today, we're going to have a discussion on ruminant digestion. We're going to talk about the rumen. We're going to talk about the abomasum, the omasum, the reticulum, small intestine, large intestine, and then we're going to dive into how ruminants digest protein or crude protein.
At Merck Animal Health, we wake up each day seeking new innovations to keep your herd healthy. This is why we're proud to now include All-Flex Livestock Intelligence in our portfolio of solutions. With All-Flex, we can provide the tools to identify, monitor, and trace each animal within a herd. Its state-of-the-art offerings deliver real-time insights to help you optimize productivity. Merck Animal Health and All-Flex Livestock Intelligence for our animals, our industry, and our future.
The Alertus on-farm pregnancy test for us has been unbelievable time saver because we can do it whenever we want. My favorite part about Alertus on-farm, we can get results fast. In 20 minutes, you know whether that cow goes to pasture A, B, or C. It's just very efficient. It's going to make you a lot of money. You're not going to have open cows standing there all winter looking at you, and you can do it on your time.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and I've got a couple of different hats I wear. Today I'm wearing the Iowa State hat where I'm a faculty member at Iowa State University. And also I am an owner-operator of Production Animal Consultation, the PAC Group, which we go out and consult cattle and feed yards all across the United States, but mainly based in Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado area. So thanks for joining me. Today we're going to go back to some of the things that I enjoyed teaching at the university, and that's talking about ruminant nutrition and digestion and things to that nature. And I think we need to back up and take a look at what the digestive tract of beef cattle looks like. And we start out with the cattle take it in, they chew the food, they swallow it, and it goes immediately to the rumen. And the rumen is this large vat, okay? And that vat is full of feedstuffs, it's full of microbes, it's full of water. And what's happening is fermentation in that. And when we have that fermentation, those bacteria are fermenting the feeds into byproducts. And the byproducts are what the animal actually digests. The reason why we need those microbes, two reasons in the ruminant animal. One is so that the microbes will break down hay or cellulose. There's two types of ways that we get glucose, okay? One of them is in the form of starch, which is in grains, and the other one's in the form of cellulose, which is in fiber or plant material. We as humans, pigs, chickens, can digest starch, as can ruminants. However, we cannot digest cellulose. And cellulose is glucose just bound together differently in the beta-1,4 linkages instead of alpha-1,4. And to break down the beta-1,4, you have to have microbes. The bacteria have the enzymes to break down the cellulose, to break it down into glucose and pentoses and different types of sugars. Those sugars are then, or the byproducts from the sugar digestion of the bacteria, then give off propionate, acetate, things that we call volatile fatty acids. The volatile fatty acids then are absorbed across the gut wall, and everything in the gut, whether it's from the rumen or to the large intestine, flows through the bloodstream straight to the liver. Okay, so everything goes to the liver from the digestion. That's kind of our oil filter. Okay, and so they go there, and at that point in time, the acetate and the butyrate, those two VFAs, they just slide right on through the liver, and they go to form fats and form milk fat and form fat with intermuscular fat and external fat. However, the propionate, that volatile fatty acid, stays right there in the liver. It's slapped together, and 2 propionate become glucose. So we take the cellulose, the bacteria get the glucose because they can break down the beta-1,4 linkages. They have a byproduct that they give off from that fermentation called VFAs, which then goes to the liver, and we take those 2 VFAs and we slap them together to convert glucose again, which is what the animal needs for brain activity, for growth, for energy. It's extremely efficient, and it's the way that these critters can survive on grass. When we come back, we'll start to talk a little bit about how they can use non-protein nitrogen, which we can't, in a similar manner.
Success in the cattle business hinges on a lot of different people playing their part. From the vet to the cowboy and the nutritionist to the feed truck driver, you rely on them to get their job done right, and so do your cattle. Your expectations for the vaccines you use should be no different. Bimeta's cattle vaccines were developed and are made and sold by men and women in the cattle business. No smoke and mirrors, just real-world protection that you can rely on. Go to bymetabiologicals.com to learn more.
We see you, working hard from the early mornings to the late nights and every hour in between. We see you. We see the pursuit, the desire, the effort, the hope, the goal of being a champion. And we see that you need a partner to keep your animals healthy and happy. With our countless products and quick and reliable shipping, together, we can do just that. To the cowboys and cowgirls, to the dreamers, we see you.
Nasalgen 3 is a new 3-way intranasal BRD vaccine that offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, BRSV, and PI3. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose new Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only 5-way intranasal vaccine on the market. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and we're going to talk about ruminant digestion. And basically we're going to focus on the rumen because everything after the rumen is the same as all other species. And we talked about how the ruminant can digest cellulose and get the glucose from cellulose, which monogastrics can't, okay, because you need microbial fermentation to break that down. Well, if you've ever wondered why we call it crude protein rather than protein, well, ruminant animals, the measure of crude protein is really just the measurement of nitrogen. And there was a fellow named Kjeldahl who worked for a beer company back in the day, and they could tell the fermentation patterns of the beer and the way that that was going to taste based on the nitrogen of the barley products that they were fermenting, okay? So they wanted to come up with a way to measure nitrogen within the barley specks, and they came up with what he calls the Kjeldahl procedure. So the Kjeldahl procedure measures the amount of nitrogen. A true protein that's made up of amino acids is 16% nitrogen. So what we do now to get the amount of crude protein in a feedstuff is we just measure the amount of nitrogen within that feedstuff and take that times 6.25, which is the conversion factor of a 16% crude protein product, and that will give us the actual crude protein, or kind of roughly around the amount of protein, but it's all based off the percent nitrogen within that kernel or within that feedstuff, okay? So if we would get something that would measure 1% nitrogen, like straw, that would be 6% crude protein, or 6.25% crude protein. It might be a little less than 1% nitrogen, because straw is usually around 4% crude protein. So why is it important to measure nitrogen? Well, one of the things about ruminant animals, since we have the microbes in the fermentation vat, we can actually feed urea, which urea is a non-protein nitrogen. And what happens is when that hits when the urea hits the rumen, the microbes immediately with their enzymes are able to solubilize the urea into 2 ammonia compounds. Now, why is that important? 2 reasons. One, the microbes can use that nitrogen for developing microbial crude protein. So the ruminant animal can take in hay with non-protein nitrogen and grow bacteria in the rumen, which is digested, and it is 88% biologically available to the animal. So it's a great source of energy, and it's a great source of protein. Those bacteria are themselves. The other thing that will happen is that urea will actually go across, the ammonia will get to an ionized state, and it can also pass through the rumen wall, which then goes to the liver, and the liver will slap together those 2 ammonias to form a urea molecule again. So we take the glucose, put them together, we form propionate on the energy side. The ruminant animal takes 2 ammonia compounds, puts them together to create urea. And if you've ever gone in for your physical exam and you see the blood urea nitrogen or plasma urea nitrogen, that's exactly what's floating around. We'll talk a little bit about the recycling of that and its importance here in just a minute. Thanks for watching DocTalk.
The Alertus on-farm pregnancy test for us has been unbelievable time saver, because we can do it whenever we want. My favorite part about Alertus on farm, we can get results fast. You know, in 20 minutes, you know whether that cow goes to pasture A, B, or C. It's just very efficient. It's going to make you a lot of money. You're not going to have open cows standing there all winter looking at you, and you can do it on your time.
If you're looking for innovative livestock handling products that focus on efficiency and safety, Daniels Manufacturing Company is who you want to choose. With low-stress cattle handling being of the utmost importance, this family-owned business is focused on quality, not quantity. The company prides themselves on prioritizing the animal's well-being by staying on the cutting edge of design and only using the best materials and manufacturing operations. For more information on getting the product that will work best for you, contact Daniels Manufacturing Company today.
They're here, they're hungry, and they can't be stopped with ivermectin. Choose Safeguard when you deworm your cattle to take out resistant parasites like brown stomach worm, Cuperia, Nematodyrus, and others. With Safeguard's efficacy, you can kill more resistant worms in your cattle, so you don't leave potential on the table. Consult your veterinarian for the diagnosis and treatment of parasitism. Then bite back at safeguardworks.com.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and we're talking about crude protein and digestion. And when we talk about protein that flows into the rumen, crude protein, it could be cottonseed meal, it could be soybean meal, it could be urea, non-protein nitrogen, okay? There's 2 things that we think about. One is what we call degradable intake protein, and the other is what we call un-degradable intake protein. And I tell my students it's dip and you-ip, okay? But anyway, it's not. But Degradable intake protein means it's broken down by the microbes in the rumen, utilized to make microbial crude protein through fermentation, or it's passively diffused across the rumen wall, which goes to the liver. Undegradable intake protein is what we all call bypass protein. Okay, bypass protein does not get digested, does not get broken down in the rumen, and it is absorbed in the small intestine in the same form in which it was consumed by the animal. Okay, so what's some of the differences? Well, if we have urea, which we just talked about, 100% of that is solubilized in the rumen, so it has no bypass protein or no undegradable intake protein value. Okay, let's take soybean meal. Soybean meal, when we feed, half of the crude protein in the soybean meal is digested and utilized in the rumen, and half of it is undegraded, and it then flows to the small intestine. We get into feather meal and corn gluten meal, some of those blood meals, those have very high levels of bypass protein. Matter of fact, only 10% of the crude protein from those is digested and absorbed in the rumen, while 90% flows to the small intestine. So when we start to think about this, when we have calves that do not have a developed rumen, and we're weaning those calves, and the fermentation is not going full steam yet, it doesn't make sense biologically or efficiency-wise to feed those animals something that would be that would have to be utilized in the rumen, because we don't have a high level of fermentation to utilize the degradable intake protein. It's at that point in time we want to feed natural protein and something with a bypass value so that it gets to that small intestine and those calves can digest that crude protein. When we start to see some of the issues with non-protein nitrogen like urea and biuret, is when we're feeding things that are high in urea or high in biuret to animals that don't have a fully functioning rumen. The general rule for urea is to never feed more than 1% of diet dry matter as urea. So we aren't going to go above a 1% urea in any of our diets. The only one you might creep up above, and some nutritionists will, is if you're going to be feeding a finish ration that's extremely high in soluble carbohydrate that has a quick fermentation that'll utilize that 100% solubilized nitrogen right there at the point of fermentation. So we've talked about degradable, we've talked about bypass. When we come back, we'll finish this discussion on ruminant digestion, talking about urea recycling, which the ruminant has a remarkable way to survive on the range and within our feedlots. You're watching DocTalk, and thanks for joining us.
We are a start to finish yard, bring them in at 500 pounds and finish them out to 14 to 1,500 pounds. Max capacity is about 15,000. We begin with the end in mind, which that means it starts from day one coming off the truck. Heard all sorts of stuff about the generics coming out from a few different companies here and there, but we started working with Bimeda. What I like about working with Bimeda is our rep. He seems like he's just one of us. He knows, he's been in the cattle feeding industry for a long time. He understands where we're coming from, what goes on in the feed yard. So we started implementing Macrocin last July, and we're using it as our first poll treatment. The data shows that success rates on BRD, they're equivalent to the other macrolides that we were using. We just feel fortunate enough, I guess, to get our hands on it, and it works great for us for a first poll treatment. It's what really jumped out to us working with Bimeda, meeting with the rep. Macrocin's affordable. We finally got a product that everybody can afford. We try to do the little things right, whether it's from low stress cattle handling, animal welfare, how we work with the cattle every single day. That's something we really focus on. But when you've got a product like a Macrocin, It's just another assurance protecting you, controlling your BRD from what stressors are thrown out there or what Mother Nature is going to bring to you. This industry, it takes everybody, whether it's working with the nutritionist, it's cowboys working with the veterinarians. Everybody plays a part, and we expect them to do their jobs, but also we expect, you know, the drugs or what we put into the cattle to do their job too. And I think these Bimeda products, they're proving that they're doing the job for us.
Dr. Nels here, folks. We're super excited about this book on hiring. Have you made a bad hire? Have you hired someone you wish you wouldn't have? Are you looking to hire? It's a great short read on helping you in the hiring process. You can find it on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, or find it at drnels.com. Check it out there. We'd love to see you there.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here, and I want to talk about urea recycling because it's unique to the ruminant animal. And so the urea, blood urea nitrogen, is flowing in the bloodstream. And there are 3 fates of that urea that can happen. One, it can be filtered in the kidney with water and it goes into urine. Okay, so urea is in urine. That makes sense. Okay, so that's how we excrete it. The other 2 fates are how it can be recycled back into the digestive process. So when we think about cattle out on the range and we supplement protein, we have to understand that these cattle can recycle urea out of the blood. One way that it happens in a feed yard is that if we have a little bout of acidosis and we have an osmotic pull because of the high acid load in the rumen, we will draw water into the rumen from the bloodstream passively. Urea is water soluble, so it flows across that rumen wall from the blood back into the rumen, which then is solubilized into 2 ammonia molecules, which both are basic, and it can serve as a somewhat of a buffer, okay, within the rumen against some of the acid load. That's pretty cool, okay? But the one I want to talk about that's considered the true urea recycling is that the ruminant animal will actually take the urea from the bloodstream and put it into the saliva. So when they graze and when they swallow, the saliva has urea in it, and they can actually recycle the urea from their blood down into the rumen, which then matches with the cellulose that we can't digest, with the nitrogen or the urea, the non-protein nitrogen, which we can't digest very well or utilize, we get ammonia toxicities from, to form microbial crude protein within that rumen and survive out there on the range. It's truly unbelievable when you think about how these animals can do this and survive. But it's all science. It's all biology, physiology, and digestion. The number 1 urea cycling animal, the most efficient animal at recycling urea, is the American bison. And doesn't that make sense with how they can graze our pastures and graze our rangelands and be able to digest cellulose, digest the glucose from cellulose, and recycle non-protein nitrogen from their digestive system to the liver, put together the urea, come back in the saliva, and then go down the esophagus to the rumen to sustain that animal's life. But understanding crude protein, understand the supplementation of degradable versus undegradable intake protein, understanding how the ruminant can utilize starch or cellulose to get glucose, and those byproducts are then used to create glucose. The propionate is used to create glucose, and then how they can utilize non-protein nitrogen in the animals is important. And I hope you enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite subjects. I have to thank Dr. Rod Preston, my mentor in ruminant nutrition, for helping me out. But anyway, thanks for watching DocTalk. Thanks for always watching what we do. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian or nutritionist. If you want to know more about what we do, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here in Ames, Iowa, and I'll see you down the road.
DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. By integrating the comprehensive animal health product portfolio of Merck Animal Health with the innovative technologies of All-Flex Livestock Intelligence, we are shaping the future of animal health, resulting in more effective solutions and healthier animals.
At Merck Animal Health, we wake up each day seeking new innovations to keep your herd healthy. This is why we're proud to now include All-Flex Livestock Intelligence in our portfolio of solutions. With All-Flex, we can provide the tools to identify, monitor, and trace each animal within a herd. Its state-of-the-art offerings deliver real-time insights to help you optimize productivity. Merck Animal Health and All-Flex Livestock Intelligence for our animals, our industry, and our future.